So
that mixture is a great brain elixir.
Right, the almonds. And so you're saying this could be combined.
Yes, you can add the ideas I'm talking about tonight with that, and you get the enriched benefits.
Now, one other quick question. I have MS. I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The MS Recovery Diet, but they say to stop doing dairy.
Oh, yeah, what they're
and legumes, which would be your soy, and several other things. But are you familiar with that? I mean, how
Well, let me just comment. I'm not familiar with that particular program, but I like what they just said. First of all, soy, we can do a whole show on just the dangers of soy, so I don't want to go down the list of that, but that would be terrible for MS. But it's really, soy is terrible for everybody, unless it's in moderation and in a form that you don't find in America, which is called fermented soy. Fermented soy actually has some really good benefits in moderation for fighting off cancer and healing cancer. It's an immune booster, but it has to be fermented. And the stuff you buy in the stores and the soy milks and the tofus and all that, none of that in America is fermented. So it will interfere with your digestion. It will ruin digestion. It has something called phytic acid. The next thing you mentioned is the dairy and the whey protein. And I'm in complete agreement with what you're saying. The casein is terrible for you. And there's research that shows that if you can get milk, which is the casein in milk, which comes from Jersey cows and Guernsey cows and Jersey cows, is a milk which is casein friendly to the human body. That's why I recommend my products, because my products are from a special organic farm where they have Jersey or Guernsey cows, and it's non-heated whey protein. That's available on my website, but people don't have allergic reactions to that. And all the rest of the cows, they produce a kind of casein that's terrible for like kids with ADD or people with sicknesses. Their body can't digest the casein. There's some new research that actually came out to verify that the genes are different in these different cows when it comes to making the casein. And it was supposedly 5,000 years ago there was a mutation in the genes, and the American cows, North American cows, had this mutation which makes the casein mucus-producing and non-health producing.
I don't even drink anymore milk, John.
Yeah, dairy is just something that I don't touch at all. I put a little in tea just because I like it, but in moderation. But the whey protein is different, George. If you do the whey, which is non-denatured, it doesn't produce the same negative effect that milk will.
What about people who are lactose intolerant?
Even the whey that is in my products is no problem. When you have whey, there's no lactose in it. At least most of the wheys are lactose-free. But there are substitutes that I want to mention. They're good to eat protein without fat. As I mentioned before, combining a low-fat protein with the coconut oil and some of the omega fats is a really good brain tonic. And so if you don't want to use the whey, you can also use rice protein, not soy protein, but rice protein. And there's also quinoa proteins that you can find in health food stores as well. These are great for the brain when mixed with coconut oil in some kind of a shake, or just cooking it with coconut oil.
Okay, very good. Let's go to Tom in Santa Rosa, California. First-time caller. Thanks for joining us, Tom. Go ahead.
Thank you. And from a stress level, it's just so gratifying to have a show that isn't focused on all the problems in the world, but how to help people. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Here's my question. John, I've become a huge fan tonight of your work, and I agree with everything you say. I did have one question, and I don't mean it to sound at all argumentative so much as I haven't had the pleasure of traveling internationally, and you have, and you've seen the benefits of these superfood foods with various cultures that you've visited. And yet, here's a naive question. These people get ill. They obviously die. Is the real benefit of the superfoods to improve our quality of life given the stresses and anxieties that Western civilization has upon us? Or, I'm just trying to...
No, you said it very nicely. And let me update you with some information that you may not be aware of. In Caucasian mountains, in the cities where they're drinking the Arctic root, I mentioned that rhodiola, that's one superfood. They're very well known for being very healthy at 100 years old. There's a wonderful book, I actually mentioned it last time I was on George's show, called Healthy at 100, which documents 4 different areas of the globe and indigenous areas where people are healthy at 100. And what's great is you go there, and I've been there and seen these people. They're vital and they're virile, and some men at 90 years old are having children, and some women at 70 years old are just going into menopause. This is how, and their bodies are strong and healthy, and they don't have the kinds of diseases we have. And let me mention as well that heart disease, for example, the number 1 killer in America and the Western world, heart disease was extremely rare 100 years ago and extremely rare in all of these communities. Cancer was extremely rare in these communities. When these people do die, like when I was down in the Amazon, there weren't a lot of old people around. I was in these jungles, and I said, where are the old people? There were old women, but there weren't a lot of old men. There were some. And where they were is they died of insect bites and snake bites of the jungle. And in some places where people don't live long, they die of infectious diseases from the quality of the water. Animals die in the water, and then it gets in the water, and people drink it, and then they end up having infectious diseases and parasites and so forth, problems from that. And we kind of wiped out all the infectious diseases by putting chlorine in our water. And that's why actually people live longer in the West now, is because we have chlorinated water to a great extent. That's the number 1 thing, which is that we're not dying of infectious diseases. But keep in mind that chlorinated water has created a whole host. It's one of the contributing factors to a host of other diseases. Chlorine in itself is one of the major contributors to heart disease. One study done in 1955 by a doctor, researcher, and farmer is he gave one set of chickens chlorinated water and the other set of chickens non-chlorinated water. And then when he killed them, the ones that drank the chlorinated water, every one of them had arterial sclerosis, which is, heart disease, because the chlorine irritates the vessels, and then the body puts plaque on it. But they didn't have heart attacks because they weren't under a lot of stress. But when you have a lot of plaque and you have stress, then you get heart attacks. So that's just to give you expand your knowledge a little bit about these cultures that have used superfoods do live long and healthy lives, and they're very, very strong. And as well, I'll put this out there too, they have very active sex lives into their 80s and 90s. It's very common.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tom. Good luck to you. Let's go next to Alex in Las Vegas. Welcome. Hey, Alex, go ahead.
Hey, George. Great show tonight. Well,
Thank
I
you.
really am enjoying that.
Yeah, John's doing a great job.
Anyway, the question that I have now, just regarding what you just said about the people having sex up into their 90s, is that indicative that there is a good testosterone level? Like what I'm saying is, if in the United States, if you're still wanting to have a lot of sex, is that indicative of a high testosterone level, or is it just from habits?
No, it's from a healthy testosterone level. I wouldn't say high. Somebody could think too high, but it's a healthy, normal testosterone level that you would have at 25. You would maintain that into your 90s and to some into their 100. That is common in these indigenous cultures. And when men have their normal testosterone levels they had when they're young men, then they continue to have the kind of sex drive they had when they were young men, and it doesn't dissipate. We sort of think it's sort of a natural outcome of growing old is that you lose interest in sex because that's so common. But we also see happening that's so common is testosterone levels dropping. I mentioned at the beginning of the show that for me, my testosterone levels have actually gone up, and without making me grumpy or aggressive or anything, but it was just a better level for me than when I was in my early 30s. Maybe it had already dropped from my 20s at that point when I was tested. But one of the things that helped me increase my testosterone levels naturally without having to put, quote, natural testosterone creams or hormone creams or injections of hormones really has all kinds of side effects down the road. But helping your body make the hormones is the key. Another supplement that
Let's hold on, John. Let's hold on for a sec. We'll be right. Think about unprocessed food.
Well, you mean raw food?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the... Let me give people an example. Not everybody's designed to eat a full diet of unprocessed food all the time. There's actually a wonderful book that was written talking about when human beings began cooking food, when there was evidence of fire, that's when our brain, our forebrain, began to develop greater intelligence, actually grew much bigger, because raw food takes more energy to digest than cooked food. But there's a place for raw food in that it has all of the fiber we need. Cooked food doesn't. And it has the raw food has the enzymes that can help us, because when we're under stress, our body makes less enzymes. So that's why it's good to have salads with raw foods in it. But cooked food is also, I think, very important in the long run.